Now, the much-anticipated round of Ukraine peace talks scheduled for today in Minsk has been scrapped, an announcement made by the Foreign Ministry of Belarus. A ministry spokesman told the press that talks broke down but did not give a full reason. A day after Ukraine's decision to drop its non-aligned status, talks between representatives of Ukraine, pro-Russian separatists, OSCE members and Russia were held on Wednesday. Yet Ukraine's decision added a new element of tension to the attempts to resolve the violent crisis in the east of the country that's already seen more than 4,700 people killed since April. Now, to discuss this issue, William Spring, political analyst, joins us over the phone as well. William Spring, William, thank you very much for joining the bulletin. So what is next now? Will the issue just remain hanging?
No, I don't think it's going to remain hanging because there's very clear evidence that the Americans and their allies in Ukraine have a clear strategy which has been unfolding ever since the overthrow of the previous president, but has been accelerated in the last few weeks. For example, they've just declared the rump Ukrainian parliament, that is the deputies left behind after Crimea split off. They've just declared that they want to abandon the non-aligned status Ukraine enjoyed before. They voted this in their parliament this last week or so. And also, they voted to join NATO. Now, this is a most dangerous situation, as is recognized by nearly all political analysts who've got any experience, including Kissinger, the retired US Secretary of State, who says that this is a dangerous situation, that the West has pushed Russia up against the wall and is now seeking to recruit Ukraine for NATO. Now, in addition to that, the US Congress has passed what's called the Ukraine Freedom Support Act. The Ukraine Freedom Support Act. They have voted $350 million worth of military aid to the junta in Kiev. And this was passed unanimously by both houses of the US Congress. It has not, as far as I know, been signed off by the president, but it is an appalling reflection on the ignorance of US senators and congressmen that they should vote unanimously for a policy which all it is doing is spreading instability and insurgency all over the world. It's the same thing as they did when they backed the Syrian rebels, with military aid.
Right.
It appears sorry.
Yeah, just to keep on to the actual topic, was Ukraine's decision, William, to drop the non-aligned status, as you mentioned, a day before Wednesday's meeting, a major factor in today's scrap talks?
Oh, yes, I think so. I think the fact that they made that decision just the day before the Minsk conclave was due to start is really a wrecking maneuver. It was deliberately designed by whichever American ideologues at the moment hold sway in Kiev, because Kiev is no longer, in my view, an independent state at all. It's simply taking instructions from Washington.
But William, what good is it for the crisis in Ukraine to keep delaying any peace talks then?
Well, in order to get to peace talks, you have to have some indication that the other side are willing to really seriously discuss peace. Now, the policies they've taken of applying for NATO membership or wanting NATO membership, scrapping their non-aligned status, none of those give any suggestion that the Ukrainians, that is the junta, the right sector and all these people who now run Kiev, are really serious about it. They are not serious about peace talks. They simply want to get as much American money for themselves as possible. And I don't think they care really about the future of the Ukraine in the slightest. Because if they did, they wouldn't have broken the state up in the way they've done. It was just over a year ago a fairly stable state before these protests started, which were backed by Catherine Ashton and the US Secretary of State and Victoria Nuland, who interfered in the internal affairs of another state when there were, in fact, elections pending for 2015.
Yeah. William.
So, very sad.
William, just moving on slightly, according to the reports of the 4,700 killed in the Ukrainian conflict, 1,300 of them were killed since the so-called ceasefire in September, the Minsk agreement, the initial one. Now, what are the underlying factors behind the failure of the first Minsk agreements?
Well, I think the underlying factors are the real salient issues of control of, for example, of Donetsk airport have not been addressed. I mean, both the Ukrainian rebels, so-called, or the separatists, as we might properly describe them, and the Ukrainian government are desperate to control the airport. So the Ukrainian junta, they want to pour in troops into the east of Ukraine. Although the only problem about that is where's the money going to come from? If they're going to have it continue indefinitely with a civil war in Ukraine, then it's going to cost a lot of money. It's going to fund a funding crisis. And it may be that the funding crisis will bring the conflict to a halt. People carry on with civil wars when they think they can make money, and they end civil wars when they realise they're losing money.
Okay.
So let's hope that someone sees sense somewhere in the junta and also among the rebels. The rebels have got more to lose if peace talks break down. They have done their best, as far as I can see, to keep the peace talks going, but they have been wrecked by American sabotage. And this is an unfortunate situation, because this is unfortunate for the whole of Europe.
Yeah.
That Chancellor Merkel can't stand up against the Americans, because it's the Germans who have the clout. They could stop the war in east of Ukraine overnight.
William, we're just going to have to leave it there. I apologise, William. We're just going to have to leave it there because of due to time issues. Political analyst William Spring, thank you very much for your time.